All right, good morning. My name is Greg Wadley, and I'm with CTC and Associates. I'm the Clear Roads Administrator. We're here for the final project webinar for the project entitled Use of Dashboards for Winter Operations. This research effort is led by Drs. Mallory Crow and Ming-Shun Lee of AECOM Technical Services. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the Clear Roads website next week for viewing it by you or your colleagues at your own convenience. So we'll ask that if you're, unless you're speaking, please remain off camera and keep your microphones on mute. However, if you have comments or questions, please do enter them in the chat box and we'll address them at the end of the presentation. I think that's all from me, so I'll turn it over to you, Mallory.
Hi, everyone. I'm here for the final presentation of the use of dashboards in winter operations. So for today's agenda, we'll talk about the project goals, objectives, the tasks that were followed for this project, and then the findings within the literature review task, the survey, the case studies, and the final report. We also put together some opportunities for future research kind of around this realm for you guys to think about. So the project goals and objectives. So for this project, we wanted to gather data on current agencies' dashboards through state of the practice, or highlighting state of the practice, innovative practices, and best practices. We wanted to focus on various aspects of the dashboards regarding the data flow, so the ingestion, cleaning, storing, display, maintenance. So performance measures, how they were selected, why they were selected, how they're used, and then the discovery of benefits. So is there increased or tracked level of service, reduced material usage, reduced labor costs? So how are these really being used for benefits? It consists of the 5 tasks. So we have project management, we have the literature review, state of the practice, and then the development of the case studies, which all get pulled together in the final report and this webinar. So I'm going to go through the literature review at a high level and the survey, and then we'll kind of spend a little bit more time on the case studies. So for the literature review, we focused on finding literature within these 4 kind of topic areas. So snow removal, performance metrics, so best practices and the case studies of what kind of metrics are being used, because these are likely what we're going to see on dashboards. Leveraging technology. So how is new technology being leveraged for performance measures, for data, for dashboarding, and then real-time monitoring of assets, or monitoring your the assets and monitoring assets, and then the data-driven decision-making that could potentially come from these dashboards and having the proper data. So there's a literature review summary that's available, but just some highlights from the snow removal performance metrics. Really we saw a lot of, utilizing the dashboards for vehicle performance, resource allocation, response time, enabling proactive maintenance, optimizing resource allocation, and improving operational efficiency. A lot of them also talked about tracking material usage through dashboards to optimize the application of material, and then enhance safety by using dashboards to monitoring the roadway conditions, allowing for data-driven decisions for resource deployment, ultimately improving safety outcomes. For leveraging technology, we focused on some of the AI enhancement publications that were out there. So looking at using AI to analyze road surveillance images to detect snow coverage, the integration of smart sensor technology and deep learning algorithms to enhance winter maintenance by enabling snow drivers to navigate effectively, avoid obstacles, and improve road condition monitoring. And then leveraging the APIs from external sources to provide up-to-date information for best practices and effective snow operations. For real-time monitoring and assessments, we looked at there was a lot of publications around monitoring traffic congestion and mobility during these snow and ice events. Providing comprehensive weather data was key for this, real-time tracking of the vehicle's performance, resource allocation, some of those key things that we talked about earlier, and then helping identify areas for improvement and optimizing operational promptly. And then that leading into the data-driven decision making. So effective dashboarding requires stakeholder involvement, simplification in design, and targeting the right audience were some of the best ways to really utilize dashboards for data-driven decision making. And then dashboards improve the reporting process, so better project tracking, increased transparency, and enhanced collaboration, ultimately enabling more information, more informed decision making, and effective operations. So the survey was the next task. So we had developed a survey with the Clear Roads Committee. We got 23 agencies responded. We got 25 total surveys, but some were from the same agency. And then the following slides will provide some of the key findings and responses. We're not going to obviously go through all of them, but there is a summary available for you to further deep dive into it. The table shows the surveys respondents that said they did utilize dashboards for winter ops, and some of the ones that did the survey but currently aren't using dashboards. So one of the first questions was, do you have any dashboards for winter ops? If so, how many? So this was a good way for us to kind of gauge the state of the practice. Some of the dashboards that were mentioned were salt material usage ones, weather data dashboards for budgets, GPS AVL, onboarding, road condition status, MDSS route parameters, tracking the private contractors that assist with operations, incident and event data, and then equipment readiness. We also wanted to see how helpful are these during real-time events. So 10 of the respondents said yes, 7 said no, just kind of indicating that maybe they aren't real-time, but we do still want to have a good mix of real-time applications. The next question being, after the event, how useful are these, with all 17 that utilize dashboards saying that they are helpful. We also wanted to see, talk a little bit to see how are these dashboards used to inform, or how are they informed, how are they beneficial, best practices, do you use them for that? We had 10 say yes. We also wanted to look at what's the frequency. So we had a good mix of some of them being close to real time, some of them being weekly, monthly, so a wide range of how they could be used based on how frequently the data is refreshed. And some of the other, one of the other questions was, what data do you wish you had within a dashboard and why? So some mentioned better QA checks for data accuracy, more data sensors, but same sources. So just increasing their footprint of data sensors to get the same data around their network. Additional assets being integrated, crew assignments on the network, traveler public data, so your 5-on-1 systems or traffic mobility, volume, speeds, and then MDSS and actual comparisons, more weather information, and real-time inventory management data. So this was kind of the wish list. We also wanted to know what are some of the limitations currently. So limited bandwidth within the personnel to develop and maintain and create and use more data. So connecting again to more data sources. And then limited to what is shown currently. So just highlighting wish they had some more data inputs into the dashboards. And then potential for human error for manually collecting data. So that comes with a fear of the data reflecting poorly on the operations because it's not maybe the correct data. So making sure that the data is of high quality. And then has your agency planned or used or plans to use connected vehicle data for winter dashboards? 1 said they've deployed it. 7 said we plan to, and then 12 said no. So we just wanted to kind of look at some of those innovative practices that were occurring. So from those surveys, there was more questions, but those are just some highlights. From those surveys, we were able to then come up with the recommendations for which agencies we wanted to chat with for further to do these case study reports. So we took a bunch of the questions that we felt helped inform who we should speak with. We worked with the Clear Roads Committee, and we did some weighting and scoring. And based on that, we were able to then put values to some of the agencies that responded. And then from there, we were able to select our agencies. Originally, we had North Dakota as a backup agency, but there was a desire to also include more rural DOT to get that to get a good balance of case studies. So we moved them over to the primary agency and did a total of 5 case study interviews and case study reports, which we'll get into next. So the case study summaries. We developed just kind of questions, but more just guidelines for things we wanted to discuss in our interviews. Just general overview of history of how they got into dashboarding. Then we walked through each of the dashboards that they're utilizing, and we kind of focused on the purpose, the performance measures, the data sources, the refresh rate, who's using them, who has access to them, and what platforms are being used. And then we discussed some of the processing around developing a dashboard, the system operation and maintenance, and some of the benefits and lessons learned. So the first one I'm going to present is Iowa. So some characteristics of the Iowa DOT is they have over 24,000 total lane miles, 920 state-owned plow trucks, over 1,000 employees, and 425 seasonal workers. And they maintain most 90% of their roadways with state-owned resources. So one of the first dashboards that we spoke with them about was their salt dashboard overview, which really tracks and monitors salt usage. It also does salt predictions and then sees how the real life usage compares to the anticipated usage. It's built in Power BI. It's utilizing data from their management system. So it's their ground truth data, their legal ledger. That's the data that they trusted, and it's refreshed daily. The next one is their salt ledger dashboard, which keeps a running total of salt on hand and the salt usage, opportunities to manage the salt in more real time, better tracking, and helps the garages when making brine. And it's not used for future salt, but it does show that daily usage report. So the field staff manually enter this. They also can utilize the AVL data to monitor how accurate and adjust as needed if some of the AVL data seems to be incorrect. Again, pulled from their maintenance systems and built in Power BI. They also have a material usage and storm reporting dashboard. So for this one, it's similar to the one we just talked about. However, it lets you drill down into see which locations are using what type of salt. So garage managers can help self-regulate and make sure that the data is accurate that they did input. So it is used a little bit like a QA/QC system. So that if they accidentally fat-fingered something and all of a sudden it looks like they used a lot more salt than they did, then they can go back and make sure that everything was inputted correctly. And then just overall helps them kind of manage their salts like comparison across the state. Here's another image of it with some of the weather information that's also brought into this one from their RWIS systems. They take some of these data points and they have some trend graphics that are available on their public dashboard or on their public website for all to see. So it's just to present to the public with Iowa's DOT performance, how well they performed, helpful for discussions with management, legislators, especially mid-season when projections show that more salt is needed. So this has helped everyone kind of get a high-level, quick glance at how this year's comparing to previous years, and it's refreshed daily. Also built within Power BI, but then the widgets are pulled to the website. Here's another one for snow events. So some of the key findings from Iowa is the salt prediction is very innovative. Using that calculation to compare the anticipated versus the actual. So they're utilizing the weather data to determine that, and how much roadways and things are within that area. So that's not used for anything other than to help facilitate conversations between garage managers on ways to potentially help keep their salt usage on target. So they're not using it to make anyone feel bad that they use more salt. It's more just to say, this is what you should maybe be closer to using. And they have noticed that it does help between garage managers. So how do you help reduce salt usage so that we get closer to that target? The main sources for these dashboards are pulled from their MMS and RMS, which is their legal ledger, which really ensures that high quality of data. They've tested other data sources such as speed and other RWIS data, but it just hasn't been as trusting in the results as they'd like it to be, so they don't want to use it because they don't want to publish anything that's wrong. The best advice for developing dashboards is to have a complete understanding of the data and know what audience you're utilizing the dashboards for. And then really the pressure to save money on salt expenses really helped push them in getting the resources to develop these dashboards because the benefit far outweighs the cost to develop them. And then future enhancements that they've been exploring to fill in data gaps with crowdsourced data, including speed-based data dashboards using friction sensors, using weather information to compute road conditions, and image analysis from dash cams. So they're definitely testing a lot, but until they trust the data, they're not pushing anything forward. Again, more information in the actual case study, just kind of going high level so you can flag any of them that you want to maybe further investigate. So for Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, we spoke with them as well. They have over 26,000 total lane miles, 1,000 state-owned plow trucks, 1,800 employees and 400 contract plow trucks, and they maintain 93 with the state-owned resources. So the first one that they presented to us was the Go Kentucky dashboard, which is really their information system that's bringing in lots of different data sources. It's real-time data. They're using Google Cloud for that scalability and reliability so that when it snows and everyone's on the website, it doesn't crash. Really used for data-driven decision-making, and it's ongoing and continually to be improved. So you can view traffic data, crash event information, weather conditions, the traffic cameras. So some of the data sources that they're using are here: Waze, the TMC reports, the maintenance weather reports, traffic cameras, DMS messages, all come from the ATMS Traffic Management Center. And it refreshes every 2 minutes, and it's really for the public. And again, the platform is the Google Cloud. They also have their roadway weather decision support system dashboard, which provides real-time decision-making data that includes the AVL data, cameras, storm sensitivity or severity index, looking at salt usage, vehicle location, camera access, and everything gets joined down to the road segment. So you can really deep dive into how much salt was on this road segment, who traveled on this one. So everything gets brought down to the network level versus maybe the truck level that AVL presents at. So you can get a really holistic picture of what's going on the network. They also have their ITS real-time information dashboard and real-time ITS data studio dashboard. So this is for short-term trends, and it helps to facilitate those real-time decision-making. So it's updated every 2 minutes, but it doesn't last very long, so it is really meant for real time. Similar data sources with the TMC Waze here is AVL, RWIS, and then some of their other systems that they have. And it's uptime and scalability to report up to 1 million of records. So during a storm event, when everyone's online, everyone can utilize it. They also have their material usage dashboard. So really just tracking their material usage and summarizes inventory information, safety, labor costs, equipment costs, and that's coming from their manual entries into their via Trimble, their OS information, and that's refreshed daily. They recently moved into the Google Cloud Data Studio, but prior to that, they had a lot of very interesting dashboards. And one of the lessons learned is that, you know, when you switch these systems, you're going to lose everything you've built in other systems. So they're slowly starting to rebuild some of their previous dashboards where they really kind of showed a lot of the images over there where you could see the weather severity, usage throughout the state. So some of their key points to take away is they really started due to the need to track material usage and be as efficient as possible. Their Go Kentucky dashboard is used and accessed for real-time traffic data and is the main source for the real-time roadway information. Their their Kentucky DSS dashboard is a tool for agencies to provide that real-time AVL data along with all the other data sets that are linked to the roadways. And their ITS real-time information dashboard helps make those decisions with short-term trends to weather and traffic. And then another big key takeaway is really selecting the right platform. So all the platforms are hosted for them on the Looker Studio or Google Cloud, which is key for them because they were seeing a lot of buffering and crashing before when it would snow and everyone would log in. So this has the ability to scale up and scale down as more users add, similar to like TV streaming applications. Some of the lessons learned from the winter dashboards is, you know, to development of them, so AVL data can be inaccurate is the takeaway. So really making sure that you are utilizing the sources that you trust. And then before switching vendors, always make sure you have a plan for swapping over the dashboards that you want as well. And then some of the future enhancements that they're looking at is to do some mobile app devices to make the data more accessible on the go and to bring in some additional data sources. All right, North Dakota DOT. So they have over 17,000 total lane miles. They have about 359 state-owned plow trucks and similar 372 state employees, and they maintain most of their roadways with state resources as well. So with their dashboard, the first one we talked about was their maintenance dashboard and road condition dashboard. And it's still being developed when we spoke to them earlier this year, but the goal is for it to track the cost of snow and ice control. It's coming from their maintenance equipment tracking system and their financial data from their PeopleSoft software as well as their AVL data. It's updated monthly currently, and it's really for decision makers and districts to have access. And they've built all of this one in Esri platform. They also have their maintenance speed recovery dashboard. So this is some of their performance measures to track how long the vehicle speeds return to normal after the snow and ice event. So that's coming from their maintenance decision support system, and then roadway sensors, automatic traffic recorders, their RWIS, and it's updated daily. Similar, it's an Esri and it's meant for districts. Their road condition dashboards provide some information on the road conditions themselves. So mobility, weather, road conditions, and it's coming from a road condition report system that they have. And it is updated in real time. And it's meant for internal field operators, maintenance, and patrol. And it's also built in Esri. They have their road dashboard. So this was the tracking of incidents and feeds into the road condition dashboard. So this is kind of what the platform is that they use to input data that goes then into the road condition dashboard. So state they provide the data from their road conditions software, their state radios, highway patrol. It's manually inputted. It is able to be publicly accessed, and it's built in Esri. They also have their public-facing gauges, which have one specifically for snow and ice. So throughout a thorough understanding of the current state of transportation infrastructure. It's a live data feed, but it's updated daily. And this is really the average travel time recovery for the current season weather mobility. So really kind of tracking that performance measure of how fast they can get back up to speeds. Some of the key findings from North Dakota is development of the winter dashboard started when they wanted a way to establish that speed recovery metric. And there was a need to quantify performance metrics that were no longer manually feasible. They also highlighted utilizing the universities that they have a long history of collaboration with for the development of these, since they don't have necessarily the internal resources to dedicate to this. Really leveraging those stakeholders can be key. And then the other big push for them was the pandemic. Was a big need for that speed recovery to make sure that things are being able to be moved through the state promptly, emergency equipment and things like that. So they provide an overview of these dashboards provide an overview of the current state of the North Dakota DOT's transportation infrastructure with a lot of these various metrics for roads, bridges, and safety, and including the speed recovery. One of the lessons that they have learned in implementing these is allowing the agency to utilize data to enhance level of service that are being analyzed so they can allocate resources more effectively and offer training insights. Excuse me. A valuable enhancement that they plan to look into in the future is tracking the salt usage on maintenance roads, which will allow them to make sure roads are being maintained within budget and expenditures, allowing to lead to more efficiencies in their department. All right, for Ohio. Ohio has almost 43,000 total lane miles, 1,700 state-owned plow trucks with over 2,300 state employees and 350 seasonal workers. And similar to the other agencies, they maintain with their state resources 95% of their roadways. So one of the dashboards that we looked at with them is their real-time snow and ice dashboard, which checks if winter maintenance goals are being met during the snow storms. It evaluates the snow and ice data in real time and allows users to view probe data and RWIS data, helping aid in the allocation of resources. So again, RWIS and INRIX, and this is really to check similar to North Dakota, their speed recovery. Kind of zoomed in a little bit there for you. They also have a snow and ice performance evaluation tool. It determines, if those recovery goals are being hit after the storm and is organized by districts and counties. Similar data sources, utilizing Python, SQL, and their Tismo data warehouse to pull all this data together. They also have their snow and ice dashboards, which provide overview of the material and costs for each season. So how much of the material was used in the season, total per year, labor hours, tracks miles, total cost, historical records, current inventory, and average salt usage. This is coming from their inventory management system. It's meant for districts and highway maintenance administrators, and these ones are developed within Power BI. They also do have a mobile AVL dashboard. So they asked their AVL provider to developed this so that they could quickly pull it up on their phone and see some high-level highlights, so they can see the total number of trucks available in the district compared to how many are being deployed. They can also view salt application rates and speed based on the district. So this is just meant for the managers on the go, can quickly pull it up on their phone and get some of these highlights. So the Ohio ODOT had started dashboarding to transform the data on spreadsheets into user-friendly dashboards. That was kind of their drive. While they have not developed dedicated dashboards for their AVL, they recognize the potential in doing that. And they offer the mobile-friendly GPS AVL dashboard and are piloting a real-time evaluator tool that analyzes the routes and publishes insights on recovery time, aiding the managers in evaluating staffing and operational efficiencies. And the purpose of their snow and ice dashboard is to check if winter maintenance goals are not being met during a snowstorm. The dashboard also evaluates snow and ice data in real time and allows users to view probe data and RWIS data to help, again, with allocation of resources. From a technical standpoint, ODOT's utilizing Power BI, along with Python and SQL scripts to query and develop all of these dashboard reports. The dashboards are refreshed in real time, providing up-to-date information to the users. They are particularly useful for communication, allowing for the public and leadership to stay informed of what's going on. ODOT is actively weaving data visualizations into decision-making and further investigating the AVL data with dashboards is another future enhancement that they're looking into. One of the major benefits of them that ODOT has found is just pulling that information quickly and accurately. And as these dashboards evolved over the years, so they can compare historical, they can build up that historical data to compare to the current data in real time without waiting for monthly reports. All right, Virginia DOT. So Virginia DOT has 125 total lane miles and 2,500 state-owned plow trucks and 6,500 private or locally owned plow trucks that help VDOT in the operations. So they utilize about 10% of their roads are treated with internal employees, while the rest are treated by the private contractors. So they have 10 dashboards, all listed here. So we'll go through most of them. And again, there's more available within the case study reports and the final report. So their winter preparedness dashboard and their winter event dashboard. So their winter preparedness summary is used to visualize key data related to snow and ice removal across the state. And it serves as that central hub for both internal leadership and the public, offering insights into their equipment, vendor network, and salt availability. The winter weather event summary focuses on key performance measures during the event, including tracking the number of mobilized pieces of equipment categorized by specific areas within the state. So we have those two. And since they're managing, so they have their full inventory dashboard and their material inventory dashboard. So for their fuel one, this is really that fuel usage and optimizing resource allocation. They utilize that one. And then for their material inventory, it's similar, but utilizing specifically for material usage across the state. And these dashboards primarily cater to two goals. First, providing a breakdown of material usage, and second, comparing those figures to what is currently ordered and on hand. So they can make sure they can get more resources or more material if needed. They also have their emergency management center dashboards and damage assessment dashboards. So their emergency management center dashboard is a specialized tool that focuses on emergency management, and its primary purpose is to provide comprehensive weather information, not just snow and ice, but also overall just storm precipitation events, but it does include the snow and ice. And the dashboard performance is evaluated based on the accuracy and timeliness of the data. So if there's an emergency event happening within the state, they want that data to be real time and fast and accurate. And then their damage assessment one allows them to really track what damage has occurred because of storms and make sure that they're being repaired and resources are available, and facilitates the process of adding value to the damaged assets. So in order to get some of the federal help and aid, they have to make sure that they're assessing everything that was damaged by the events and making sure that they're getting updated and repaired. All right. Oh, so for some of the key findings, the dashboarding really streamlined the process of exporting data for vendors and truck agreements. So they, like you mentioned earlier, they do have a lot of private contractors. So these dashboards have really helped them manage those contracts, whose contract who hasn't been called in, but they have a baseline minimum value. So they want to make sure they utilize those contractors instead of just paying them for not doing anything. They want to see if the private contractors agreements are all documented, their equipment is ready to go. So that's been one of the biggest helps for them, is really managing that 90% of their roadways being managed by these private contractors. They want to make sure everyone's ready to go. So some of the benefits are gained from having these include the faster response time, automated workflow, dealing with fewer emails, standardizing the process, resource allocation, and managing those vendors. And then the data for their dashboard comes from multiple sources depending on the dashboard, but daily refreshes data refreshes range from real time 30 minutes to daily. And most of them are created in Power BI, and they are interoperable with many tools and systems that VDOT uses internally. So that's been also key. So such as their Power Automates within the report tools and emails. So Power BI is one of many of the Microsoft ones, and they've been able to link it with some other Microsoft Power Automate tools. So really streamlining data sharing and integration for one giant situational awareness for an issue or an event. And like mentioned, they have many contract services and data schemas that can sometimes hinder the winter ops and management. So having these dashboards interoperable across the agency helps reduce some of those issues. And the data for these dashboards is mostly a lot of it's maintained in Esri, their spatial platform, and the emergency operational specialists and IT help maintain those for the Power BI and within the data warehouse. And some future enhancements include getting their 511 data involved, involving road closures during winter events, added to the emergency response dashboard. All right, I know that was a lot of information, so hopefully you guys took some notes on which ones maybe you want to further investigate. So as mentioned, all of this gets pulled together in the final report, as well as each state having their individual, or each agency having their individual case study report with further details on all these dashboards. So the final report brings all of this together, should be available on the Clear Road site soon enough. I just was sharing the final one with Greg earlier. And then some opportunities to build upon this research that we were brainstorming would be, maybe a review of third-party data sources. So as we talked about, many of the agencies want to make sure that they're only doing dashboarding with data that they trust. So which data is that's trustworthy, that's helpful? Ohio did some research on some NOAA weather sources recently. So kind of in that same spirit, looking at, various weather information, friction data, speed data, crowdsource event data, connected vehicle data. So how are agencies utilizing these? Which ones do they trust and have been proven to be accurate for them? And then also, potentially determining and monitoring snow and ice performance goals. I think on many of the projects I've worked on with you all, we on surveys ask about snow and ice performance. So just what data is required for those, why were they selected, what tools are used to monitor and calculate those performance and goals to make sure that they're being met. So building upon some of the things that we saw today. All right. That's all we got for you today. Any questions?
Thanks, Mallory. Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions or comments in the chat box, but if anybody does have a question, please go ahead and raise your virtual hand and we'll call on you. All right, we've got one from Doug McBroom, project chair.
Mallory, great job. Appreciate the good work on this. You talked a lot, and the common theme amongst all the DOTs was using data they trusted and then using the source of truth or the ledger. Any best practices that you found around that you can share?
I think really the best practice being that trusting it, but I think just making sure you don't push a dashboard. Iowa's like we've tested a lot, so they've spent their time to really test and check before just integrating a data set and publishing it. So I think really just making sure that you build in that time to really have that internal test environment and be checking that the data seems correct. So having an evaluation plan of how you're going to check it. So if you're checking probe data, what are you comparing that to make sure it is accurate? And then giving yourself enough time to, one day it might seem right, but then during the snow event or in the middle of the night, something might seem off. So just making sure you're checking all those different times of days and different types of weather events. So I think that would be one of the things that, I would recommend and that we've heard is, we tested it internally, but we didn't push it forward because we saw things we didn't like.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, anybody else? All right, not seeing any other questions or comments. A great weekend and holidays next week. And Mallory Meng from AECOM, thank you so much for your hard work on this project. As I said before, I will get this webinar posted next week, and as Mallory indicated, the final report and the final case studies, those will all be published here very soon as well. Though they are the case studies are posted on the members page right now, but I'll get them on the project page shortly. So thanks everybody. Have a great rest of your day and weekend, and we'll talk to you after the holidays.
Yep, and thanks to all the agencies that let us interview them. Have a good one.
Absolutely. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.